There's been some tough calls lately, unfortunately. I'm not going to go too much in the personal issue here, but I'm going to put this under, it's a twofold topic. Basically, I'll figure out the name of the title for the first one, but it has to do with, when hard times hit, because I'm going through something now that it's taken me a lot of time to wrap my head around because of just how hard and frustrating it is. And I realized, as painful as this is, it's a good learning opportunity and a good way to point this out to other people who are going through the same thing. Because in all honesty, one wrong move and you're likely to blow up and cause some serious harm, make some very foolish decisions that will ruin you for the rest of your life, specifically with anger. I've had to deal with anger issues for over 23 years of my life, close to 25. A lot of it started back years ago with being adopted. I'm not going to go into all that, but I will say the after effects from going through counseling, getting through some help, and I will say why this is relevant too. But you can create self-defense mechanisms. You can grow up a little bit hooked up on the wrong people, the wrong lessons, and you can grow up a little bit crooked in a sense. I think everyone latches onto some wrong things that ends up hurting them more than helping them. So to a point, everyone is affected by this. But anyway, with the current issue that I have with some people in my life, I pretty much hit the breaking point here where I had to go call the VA so I could try to get some help, possibly some counseling, because in all honesty, as painful as it is to admit, I don't have all the answers and I have hit my limit. Also, there's a bit of a housing problem because I'm not in any danger of being I should say that I'm not in any danger of being homeless, but the possibility is definitely there. I didn't realize until after signing for a second lease that I didn't have anyone to shift over to cover my first lease, and I just simply cannot afford both leases just to get away from my roommates. Long story short, it has gone to be that bad of an issue and problem, but I jumped the gun and I was a little too quick on this. But as I realized that this was a bit of a learning opportunity that's worth sharing, because when something happens and you react, you respond in a way where you let your feelings dictate your actions, you're going to more or less slow down and stop thinking and start letting your feelings guide your actions, so to speak, like the way a steering wheel guides a car. And honestly, a lot of people do what feels good. They say shit and it just, it's a spur of the moment thing that could come back later and cause you some severe issues and problems, all the way from losing your job to possibly something much worse. I don't really know, and I don't have any good specific examples to pull up here, but the point is, learning to, what do you do when you get to the situation? And honestly, asking for help feels like it should be one of the last things, but it honestly should be one of the medium things that you do. First and foremost is evaluate to see where you yourself are. That's the first one. Just to see if you've done anything and everything you can possibly do on your end first. Because once you try everything, then you can try to get help and ask someone that you trust, or someone in any sort of a legal position, which I am having to do. I have to contact the VA as well and get help, so I can kind of help deal with some of this housing problems that I've had for the past 2 months. Honestly, it's the issues have gotten out of hand to the point where, like, I'm afraid of losing control. I'm afraid of making mistakes that I have tried to avoid for most of my adult life. I pride myself on being the best and doing the best that I can, and even though I do make mistakes all the time, I will not let my anger dictate my choices, and I will not make these mistakes that could become permanent, so to speak. This isn't the army anymore. This is a totally different environment. You don't just simply beat your problems. You have to get around your problems, or you have to get help to find solutions to these problems that you may struggle to find. And in this particular case, swapping rooms, getting to another location is the best thing. But yeah. So, evaluating, seeing where you're at, getting help, all of that. This matters, so you don't blow up, you don't make mistakes and all that. Alright, moving on. The second part of the topic is a bit of something that I've been taking some time to think about, and it's a little bit tricky, trying to stay in line with the channel and my desire to give people information that's useful here. It's theology versus philosophy. I never grew up with philosophy at all. It was only theology, and I'm not really good on that either way. But the idea is your line of thinking according to Scripture as being a man or a woman of God versus your line of thoughts that extend outside. Theology has to do with your thoughts as well as your beliefs too. Now, it didn't really hit me until yesterday, but the importance is the fact that your support is going to come from one or two places. It's going to come from faith, or it's going to come from logic and reasoning. Now, you can combine the two, but it's going to take some time to figure out what your foundation is and what needs to be changed a little bit for both to be there and present, for it to be present and for it to be successful. Because in all honesty, thought patterns tend to, how do I say this? What you focus on and what you believe in, what you value, they all impact your thought process quite a bit. And if you tend to value the spiritual realm, the spiritual, like, you believe that you have a spirit, that you believe in the spirit world, you're more likely going to lean towards theology. But if you tend to stay away and towards reality, towards facts, you're probably going to lean more towards philosophy. And it hit me on just how much that is lacking and how much that is needed for both, in all honesty. Because outside of the church, there's a vast number of issues. I mean, there are issues in the church, but there are a vast more number of issues outside the church that need to be pointed out so people can address, they can locate, then they can attempt to address it, and then find ways to eliminate, to remove themselves or remove it from their life. Basically taking action, taking steps and all that, not just simply trying to fix things. The main difference between fixing versus taking actions, like self-reflection and all that, is one is you're taking steps to work on your own life, and the other is you're taking steps outside to try to fix these problems and issues. One of the biggest issues today, I'll just use his first name, Matt. Him and I have been friends since we were kids. However, we reconnected, I want to say in 2017, but I had moved away from where we grew up together in 2004. So in all honesty, when I left the town that we were in, when we pretty much grew up, I was basically 17. And I just turned 35 a few days ago, so like half of my life I've been away from the hometown that we both grew up in. So struggling and realizing the situation with today's world and some of the issues that self-entitlement, I'm pointing towards self-entitlement here, is a growing issue that needs to be dealt with on both sides here, philosophy and theology, because if you're not grounded, you're going to be lost and floundering, you're going to be unsure of what to do, and you're going to be very slow and indecisive. Now, this particular issue attacks the core value of what it means to be a man, because if you are like me, you grew up believing that your value in being a man, for being women it's going to be different, I can't really address that, but for men, your value as a man comes from what you're doing, who you're with, and how successful you are. And when none of those are met, you just kind of like, and when you realize it, you just skid to a halt, and you become lost for a while until you can find something, you can reprioritize and focus on something new that is equally important. A new goal is always hard to put in place, but once it is, it becomes so much easier to deal with things. But getting there is such a process, and so many young men are actually in that. Anyway, I meant to use that example. I don't want to really go off too far. That's a whole entire different topic on its own. I'm not sure how to talk about that or bring that up. In all honesty, some of these topics I've been debating whether or not I should do some serious biblical research, asking around people in church or just digging answers through the Bible. But part of me is kind of against that, because just from previous experiences and lessons, just having someone slap open a Bible and read off Bible verses just kind of kills the mood. You don't want to really listen or anything. You're just like, I'm done. Checking out. Bye. So yeah, I'll figure out a name for this video here, upload it, and I hope this helps out a few people, because two very important things in today's world that are controversial. I asked this question of a pastor who I'm talking to like 2 months ago, and it was a short but good conversation about theology and philosophy. Now, I will say this. Some of the people I've run into have really challenged and helped change some parts of the foundations that I previously believed. That's not really bad, because growing up with old, outdated information will do you some harm. It'll either not progress you further, or it'll keep you stuck in your past, and that's never a good thing. So you want to take that into account when you're trying to figure out where to go and what you need next. Well, hopefully this was helpful, and until next time.